Welcome. Shane, how the heck are you today, bro?
Doing well today. This week's been moving pretty quick and, just working on some things and digging in. And it seems like every time you dig in, you find something else to work on and improve.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm still in the saga of the move.
Yeah.
Right? If you guys listened to the last show, obviously I was announced that it was moving, and which is sad because you notice this beautiful background behind me. This is actually I'm just sitting on my front lanai. I'm here in Hawaii. You don't call it a deck. And I had to learn that. It took me like a year to stop calling this a deck or a porch or anything. It's a lanai. So I'm sitting here on my lanai, and yeah, I'm looking at the backdrop in my own camera, and I'm just like, man, this is it's gonna be a tough move.
I was gonna say,
Just
are you and your wife gonna have a bottle of wine on your lanai right before you leave, just to
I
enjoy it, or
I
no?
we're trying to. That's the attempt. We fly out Saturday night, but we've got. So the goal is to have everything done by Friday. So tomorrow night, the time we're recording this, so that we've got all of Saturday to kind of just soak it in. We'll probably go down to our favorite beach, either Allerton's or Shipwreck, and just enjoy the beach. It's not like we're never going to come back. We have a lot of really good friends here, and this is definitely like we love. We got a special spot in our heart for this place. But when you're not here every day, it's like, yeah, it's bittersweet. I'm super excited to get off island because the energy here is so slow.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how slow and just everybody's just that whole Hawaii vibe is legit, right? Where people just are kind of like,
Yeah.
well, whatever. We'll get to it whenever we get to it, which is not very conducive when you're trying to, grow a business and you be productive when everyone wants to go to the beach literally every single day.
That's one reason why. I mean, people ask me sometimes about retiring, and they're like, would you want to do that and go to the beach every? I'm like, it sounds good for like a month, but
Yeah.
I'm concerned after that there'd be no motivation to grow anything, to work, to build anything. I'm worried pretty soon you start having day cocktails every day. I mean, it
Yep.
just for me sounds like a recipe for disaster or like checking out and being done.
Yep.
But
100% that way. I got a buddy who has run a very, very successful company. He lives here in Hawaii and he is floundering like crazy because he built the company. He doesn't really have to be involved. Like the company runs itself. I mean, he can insert himself, but he's found. You and I've talked about this. This is what happens with. This is like the adverse side effect of scaling and growing that you don't think about. That once you've built your company to where you've got teams, you've got the systems, you've got the process, and the money's flowing in, and you realize that you are not required the same that you always have been, you tend to want to just blow stuff up
yeah,
because you want to feel needed again, and so you go in and then you'll literally create fires. You'll fire people that are doing a great job. Like it's the funniest thing ever. And my buddy's literally in that pocket right now. He's trying to golf every
yeah,
day, and then he does that for like 3 days, and he's like, I want to end my life. This sucks. This is terrible. I can't just do this. I'm not. So then he'll go and he'll literally like shake his company a little bit, and then they get all pissed off at him. They're literally to the point where they're like, dude, stop coming over. Like, stop,
yeah.
because you're messing everything up every time you get involved. And it's just very. But he's like, well, what do I do with my life? How do I figure that? So this is the goal. All you listening, that's the goal, to get to that point where you're having that problem,
It
right?
is, and it's a hard problem, and and I think the way it's relatable though to like the people listening to us is, I mean, I think most of our listeners are not like at the point where their law firm's going to run by themselves with no
No.
involvement from them whatsoever. But you could easily create a small team that runs without any of your involvement, right? You could
Yes.
your claims team that sets up claims, and you can have a claims supervisor who manages and runs that. You can have an intake team that runs it all and doesn't really need you in there. And I've had to
Mm-hmm.
watch myself, like, you train your receptionist and you tell them, hey, I want things done this way. I want you to answer the phone this way and do this stuff. But then if you're not careful, my desk used to be right across the hall from our receptionist. And I would hear her answer the phone and I would hear her be off a little bit, right?
Right.
And I guess there's two ways to deal with, or you hear her dealing with a problem and then you're like, oh, shoot, is this something I need to get involved in? Or has she got
Right.
it, even though she's got it handled, she sent it to somebody else. It's like, tell me about that. What was going on? And part of me says, it's great to pay attention to the small details. You trained her to answer the phone a certain way. You should expect her to do it. But the other part is like, dude, as long as it's getting done well, right, with her own little flair and spin, I don't need to get involved. So I had to actually I never listen to music when I work, but I actually had to find some old music and play it just loud enough to drown her out so I didn't hear her, and start inserting myself into that role that didn't need any help on, right? She didn't need me
Yeah.
there. She didn't mean to
Yeah.
get, but I've done it repeatedly with my sales and intake team. You can do it with your case managers. I mean, you can do it with every single little case. And sometimes it's valid, but a lot of times it's not. You're just breaking stuff to be a hero.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you have like this weird cycle, right? Because you start out and you're like, "Hi, I need to bring people on the team to help," right? Let's just say you're an attorney that's just you don't have a team yet. Like you're trying everything you can to get some of this stuff off your plate, right? Bring that person in. You bring them in, let's say, right? You bring this first hire in, and then you train them. You give them some processes to follow. You give them all these things, and then you let them go on their own, and then you don't actually let them go,
Right.
right? So you still stay just as involved in what they're doing, and now you've just added the added stress of now you've got an employee, you've got to pay them something, and the hard part about that is when you're in that pocket and you're struggling to let this go, you're not able to now go do the things that freeing up that time would have allowed you to do to grow.
Right.
So you're still doing both. So you still don't have any more time. And this cycle, bro, this is what I would say. I mean, this overwhelmed feeling that most everyone who comes into the legal edge is experiencing, right? There might be different symptoms or different reasons for it, but it's this overwhelm. This is a huge one because you'll build yourself, you build everything into this place. And a lot of it's because you have little tethers. Even when you put these teams together, you have these little tethers all over the place that are still pulling you in all these directions, and none of that allows you to actually focus in on what you need to do in order to actually grow the firm and to let go. But dude, it's a hard thing to do.
It is.
It's
Well,
tough.
not only is it tough though, but then I see the reverse as well, right? The flip of that coin is the people who totally abdicate everything in an
Right.
area rather than delegate. So they abdicate it where they're like, "Hey, this is your baby. No follow up, no reporting, no nothing. It just runs, and it usually runs smooth for about, I'd say, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then it starts to deviate and go, further and further off the track. So it's a double-edged sword, I guess, is what it is. On
Yeah.
one side, you're way too involved, and another, you just cut things loose and don't get involved at all and have no reports coming back to you. So I see it both ways, and I've done both of those errors probably a bunch of
Yeah.
times.
What I think that's the hard part because it gets confusing, right? Where, well, what is following up? What is holding the line? What is being involvement compared to like, well, what's different about that compared to just staying so involved that you shouldn't stay involved? Now you're micromanaging.
Right.
And I think that's a hard line to find because each person's different too. It really depends on what are you trying to build as a culture of your firm as well, or your
Well,
team. Like what is that? Because that's going to play into right being able to define that. It's not something we can't sit here on today's show and just like define. Well, this is the difference between just giving it away and closing your eyes to it, going blind, and this is the delegating with measurements and all because it's not as clear. There are some principles that are there, but it's yeah, it's a kind of I would just say it's a little bit muddy
it is, and
that
and
that
it
transition.
and super specific, and to each situation, it's definitely
Yes.
muddy. Like I remember, we talk a lot about, as a lawyer, you should refer out cases that, are not in your specialty, right? Or not in your area of practice, and refer them out, but then have some follow up so that you get something back. Even if the follow up is just, hey, I gave you 5 cases this month, it should be an acknowledgement from the other side so that when they have cases in your area of law, they send it back to you, right? You cultivate that relationship. But I had a woman who was working for me, and that was her primary job. She was referring out cases, and then she would do follow up. And a lot of times we got co-counsel fees on those. And she started doing that. And then, she did it for like a year, and things were great. I was having good revenue come in. The practice was growing. And then she goes, "Hey, it's not a full-time job. Can we add this job duty to it?" And I don't even remember what it was, but whatever it is, she decided she liked that better. So it went
Mm,
from taking 25% of her time to 50% of her time to then pretty much I looked up one month and I was like, "Hey, how come I didn't get any money this month from any of my co-counsel relationships?" Well, none just came in. And then I started digging into the numbers, and I noticed the number had been getting smaller and smaller over like 4 months, 5 months. And then it basically dried up, and she'd quit doing referrals at all or co-counsels, and she'd started doing this other thing pretty much full time. And because
right.
I failed to I failed in two areas there, really easy. I mean, failed to have a report of money every month and a report of units coming in. Either one of those would have worked. Units would have been better, honestly. And I failed to get her to report how big that bucket was, how many files she was following up on, or
Yeah.
how many she sent out. I just didn't do it. I totally abdicated. And because of that, because of the fact that I had no reporting up to me, I lost that whole income stream and had to rebuild it over from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's tough because it really is. I mean, as simple as the cliche, right? If you don't measure it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And it's really it's kind of a simple fix though too, meaning it's not complex. It takes some time and some work, and you got to have management skills and things like that. But as far as the fix, it really comes down to you just have to make sure there's what the measurable result you want from that situation, from whether it's intake demands, whether it's your attorneys in social, whatever that is. Understanding what do I want to use as the measuring stick?
Right.
What's the best KPI for that person or that department that it is an indicator of everything else, right?
Right.
Because I think you can also inundate yourself with like, well, here's this big ass report and 653 metrics on there, and you're like, bah, and then you just won't read it. I've done
I've
that.
done that too. I've done
Yep.
that mistake, right? And
Oh, yeah.
and I had to learn too, because we have management at the firm, right? I mean, we have 150 people, so I mean, we have clearly it's not me and then everybody else,
Right.
but we've got management, and I had to get my team leaders used to they need more data than I do, and the
Mm-hmm.
team leader needs more data than the manager, but the manager of them, and that manager is going to give me something, but the data that comes to us should be less because sometimes the lower level people just need more data, but I don't need to see 6 pages about referrals. I need like a quarter of a page, right? A couple lines measuring it, and that's what needs to filter to me. If there's a problem, I need to tell my ops manager, hey, dig into this. And
Yeah.
then it's going to trickle back down, and the next thing you know, they're going to get a bigger report. But honestly, they can probably solve that before it even comes to me. My job is to see a trend and be like, hey, look at this, dig into it, come back and tell me what's going on next week.
Yeah.
So I've
Well,
done,
dude, what
yeah,
you just described, I think a fallacy is that we think that's just going to happen, right?
yeah,
You have to build that, right? You have to build and instill this in the team because as you're the easiest time to do it is when it's just you,
yeah,
right? Meaning when you just start building your team, it's much harder to shift everything after you've got 30 members on your team, right? 30 employees that are doing different things. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, I need to know some stuff. Let me try to build that and rebuild into it. And so as you're scaling, being able to like build that and realize it's not magic. It's not you build it as you go and realizing this filter system because each level as you go up there's things they need to know that are going to be indicators of whether or not it's performing. No different than a doctor, right? You go into the ER, they assess you, right? You go in there and it's clearly, let's say you broke your hand, it's obvious they broke your hand. Well, why are they weighing you? Why do they need to know how tall you are? Why are they taking your blood pressure? Why are they doing this? Well, because they're assessing they're getting all the data they need to then make a correct diagnosis, even when the diagnosis seems obvious. I was actually talking to I got a friend who works in the ER, and he's like, one of the hardest things is when somebody comes into the ER and they've got like a really bad, like a compound fracture, like maybe let's say their leg is like jacked up, and your mind wants to say, well, that's the problem, let's fix that, right? He's like, but the reason we have to go assess the whole situation, we have to basically figure out what are we dealing with, because sometimes the leg is actually not the problem. It's
yeah,
obviously needs to be fixed, but it's not the one that needs to be fixed right now. They do an assessment and they realize one of the lungs is compressed,
yeah,
right? And they're like, oh shit, leg doesn't matter. Well, let's put a tourniquet on it. We'll leave that for later. We better fix this lung or the leg won't matter at all. And this person's going to die. And when he told me that, I was like, man, that is such a parallel to business. Because when you are running, if you don't have good data and good metrics on things and you don't have the ability to assess, you'll end up trying to do what we're talking about, but you'll focus on the wrong metric.
oh yeah. Well, and that's a lesson learned the hard way too, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we're always looking at the trailing indicators
Yeah.
versus maybe the stuff that if we track this, we'd see problems before they arise, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and that's just I don't want to say that's an experience thing, but some of that's an experience, or it's not even experience, but it's having a conversation with somebody who understands business, who can ask you the questions,
Yeah.
and then you can start talking about it, and then you'll get to the the preceding indicator or what
All
you
right. Well, you look at you, right? I mean, you've been an attorney for a really long time. You've got years and years of experience. You have grown from literally day one, put your hanging your shingle up to right where you're at now, over 150
yeah.
employees, all these attorneys. Like you got this whole massive empire that you've built, which means you had to do the school of hard knocks and figure a lot of this stuff out and either hire someone to help you learn it or you had to learn it yourself. And a lot of those ones in the early days, bro, I know you just learned them by doing it
Well,
and realized, well, that was really dumb or that was the wrong move. That was that situation. And I think that's what becomes this is why, like, I've looked at, I don't care who you are, like, having someone who has done what you are trying to do on your team is imperative. I think you're kind of crazy if you like for to grow your career as an attorney to not rely on an attorney who's done what you've already done and
well,
put them in your ecosphere to say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Because, bro, there's things you see that the only way you see it is because of where you're sitting. Right? We have this tower. You're sitting on a tower on level 10, and somebody's down at level 1 or 2. They don't see the pitfalls that are coming right at them. They can't see it because they're sitting in that level 2. But you're sitting there being like, whoa, bro, avoid that. Don't
that's
do
not
that.
looking good. Yeah.
Like this is going to be a big problem for you, but here's the solution. It's not only that you can identify the problem, you also have the capability to know what the solution is, and
Well,
it's this compression of time, right? If you truly want the dreams that you want in a career, then you're going to rely on mentors, you're going to rely on coaches, you're going to rely on people that have been in that sphere to accelerate the curve. Or your alternative is, well, okay, well, it'll take me 30 years to get where I'm going. I think you can get there. I don't. It's not that you can't get there. It's just a matter of can I get there in 2 years or is it going to take me 30?
Well, yeah, I mean, like Trevor, I'll even say this, right? My son's in law school. He's in his first year. He finished his first year of law school. He's about to start his second year. But, usually in that first year, they have a practicum type class where they're doing some skills. And, some schools call it litigation. Some they call it trial practice. But it's one of these where they simulate talking to clients and stuff.
Right.
But he's worked for me a couple summers. And some of those summers, he's calling clients, getting update information, right? And then another time he worked in my intake and sales team, so he's calling prospective clients and talking to them and getting that initial set of information. So he
Yeah.
rolled in, and somebody asked him, because they did it live, and somebody goes, "Dude, how'd you learn how to do all this stuff?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I worked for my dad 2 summers, and I just copied what he told me to do." Right? So he's
Yeah.
like, "I didn't even learn anything. I mean, I learned it, but I just did what he told me to do." I read his training materials, I read his book, and boom, I did it. And his professor goes, "Well, that's really impressive because you're
Yeah.
perfectly good. I'd feel comfortable let you intake one of my clients and talk to him and get the information or get updates." He goes, "You
Right.
did a great job," and it's not hard if you've got that person ahead of you who just walks you through that process or tells
Yeah.
you what to look for. And I mean, it's not. I'm going to say most of it's simple. It's not necessarily easy because there is some method to it, but
For sure.
when
Some
somebody shows you
skill.
how to
Some
do it,
skill.
yeah, when somebody shows you how to do it, it's a whole lot easier. And
Oh yeah. Well, it's being able to go down and follow the map that exists that allows you to go where you're trying to get. And that's really what you showed your son, right? It's like,
yeah,
hey, here's the process. You don't need to go and get on 300 phone calls to
to figure it
kind of
out, right?
figure out your own process. No, here it is. This has been proven with thousands and thousands of calls that have been made. Here's the steps. Follow these steps, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I get this result. That's great. And the cool part about really what we do here at the Legal Edge is there's a system and a process across the board of scalability. I don't care which department. And as you grow, it's like when you're growing, because most people listen to our show, they're looking to grow, right? They're looking to
Right.
grow their career. They want more, right? They want to build it. And there's a right way to build, and then there's the hard way to build.
Well,
Both of
and
them can be building, but like there's a way to do it. But if you've never done it, you wouldn't know that. And that's from every aspect of it, from who do you hire, when do you hire them, how do you hire them, what do you do, how do you build the right culture. Culture is a word that's thrown around and everybody's like, well, and even people I've talked to that think they understand culture, They do not understand culture. They don't realize that cultures exist no matter what. You just can't define it.
Right.
And it's so as simple as that. And then how do you do it? Right? How do you do all these things? It's more than just, hey, here's some buzzwords. It's like, okay, once you have hit this level, this is the next person you bring on the team. And here's the process that you have them follow because this is what works. Right. And that's coming after years and years of figuring out the process, figuring out what works. And that's where really where I think all of our clients get value, right? This is the value inside of it. It's understanding this process, this map. Your son is a testament to it, right?
Yeah.
As somebody who's coming in and saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and then he's a shining star in school, and it will make there's no doubt in my mind as he comes on board as an attorney and he starts to create his own career inside of this world. Like he is a 3,300 steps ahead,
Oh yeah.
not because he's smarter than anyone else, but because he has a map to follow.
Well, yeah,
Right?
and he's got a map. He's got my training. I'm his dad, but he'll also, I mean, odds are really, really high. He's going to go to one of my best attorneys to mentor and train on a day-to-day basis. So he gets to learn from the best already. So he just gets to leapfrog everybody.
Yeah.
And I think, when we talk about there was nobody to show me this is because in the in law, certainly 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but I mean, it's still prevalent today. There's this practice of law that focuses only about client service, do a good job, and it's going to grow,
Right.
which I think there's an art and science to law and trial work. But if you just want to build a practice law, that's a slow grow method that's full of ups and downs and super heartache, or you have the business of law. And
Yeah.
my business is a law firm. I help tons of people. I mean, thousands of people every year I help, we get huge amounts of settlements, but we run a business because I need money to eat.
Yeah.
And I got told years ago, money is a reflection of value you provide society. Well, I provide a lot of value to people as evidenced by my practice, and it runs like a business. And that's what we have to get people to do is you're still doing the noble, honorable legal profession, but most people come to us want to eat, right? They want to have money, they want to eat, they want to have a good lifestyle. They want to be able to go to Hawaii or live there if they want to, have a nice car, put their kids in private school or in a nice college. I mean, all of that requires money. It requires consistent cash flow, consistent growth. Most everybody wants to do better this year than they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are all based on fundamentals we teach and mindset and acknowledging that it's okay to want to be rich and have a lot of money.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you don't learn any of that in law school.
No, I didn't have that class in law school. It's okay.
No, you missed that one. That was an elective. You forgot to sign up for it.
I missed that one. I also missed and I would say, back to this practice versus business. I think the practice of law, that's where all those stories come out, right? Like you've got to work 60 hours. You got to answer your phone all the time. Just do good work and the money's going to come in somewhere down the line. It's somewhere down the line you're going to get all the clients you want. All of these myths and stuff that we teach people are not true, right? I mean, if you run a study of all of your clients and try to pinpoint which good ones came in after 7 p.m. at night, the number's pretty low. I worked at a firm one time where we had to answer the phone on Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving. We had to work a shift for like 6 hours. And I logged in. I worked a 4-hour shift. I talked to 30 clients that day. None were any good, right? So, I mean, we'd have been better off just closing up, but that's not the firm I was at. But it's those myths that we slay, and we build the foundation of work, we build the practice, we build a business with consistent growth, consistent profits, and mindset stuff, and how to balance that whole life. I mean, that's a ton of what we spend time on.
Yeah. Well, dude, you know what's crazy about that? And it's so basic, but like even you and I, this morning in our meeting, we realized a story that both you and I had.
Yeah.
That we didn't see. It's even because this isn't like you don't arrive somewhere, right? And you're like, okay, now I have everything figured out. And
Everything's perfect from now on.
Yeah, we're never gonna have a problem again. But you and I are sitting there, and we've been in business for years and years and years, like a long time. If you were to collectively add both our business together, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And we're sitting there, and we are trying to solve a problem, and we keep going after the problem, and we've been trying to solve the problem. We trying to solve, putting our brains together, trying to be all smart, using ChatGPT even. We hiring outside consultants to come in. We are all over the place, and then all of a sudden, we finally challenged one story that we both didn't realize was a story we were even telling, and we challenged it, and we realized, oh shit, what if that's wrong?
Well,
What
and
if that assumption is not true? And that's the one kingpin, the linchpin of all of it. So like it gets me excited for us because in what we're seeing, and I'm like, oh, this I think can solve the problem where we didn't see it though. Right.
and
There was
no, we did, not only did we not see it, but I think the way we solved it is provides there's tons of value by being around other businesses
oh
because
yeah.
the way we solved that story or got rid of it was you saw another business doing not a competitor, but they weren't really even on our space, but what they were doing in their process, you saw it and you're like, oh, well we've been have this story, we got to do it a different way. Crap, this is working. Boom, solved just by being in
Yeah.
proximity to other business owners, similar to when we come to one of our groups and they're in proximity to other lawyers. Somebody can reach out and go, dude, you're
Which,
doing it the hard way. Solve it
yeah,
this way.
which happens all the time. This is why we put together the Legal Edge Summit, right? This is why we put attorneys together because attorney A and attorney B are not the same person. They do not see the world the same place in the same way. So attorney A may be doing something that attorney B has been struggling with for a while. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, by one conversation, one thing, all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, I could do it like, wait a second. I never saw that. And then they go implement this thing and it solves that. If you operate in this silo and you think that I've got all the answers, I got this all figured out, well, dude, you're done for. Like what we do at the Legal Edge isn't something that you and I just threw together because it sounded like this would be a fun idea, right? It's literally the collective use of not just the tactics, but the mindsets that have to exist and the collectiveness. We put groups together by strategic design because we've done this so much. I know what will help and what will get you to the next level in your thought process so that you can build what you're going after, right?
What?
But if you don't have that, I mean, man, all you guys listening right now who are sitting in your firms, you're sitting in your career, and you like be honest with yourself. How many of you have legitimate strategic conversations with other attorneys or firm owners on a regular basis to help you grow and scale?
Listen,
Be honest. And
it's
if
almost
your answer
impossible.
is yeah, and if your answer is no, or you can't remember a time you've ever done that, I'm telling you right now, uh, you are leaving millions on the table. Not just a little amount, everything. Your growth strategy is coming down to the fact that you're relying on you. And then we introduce ChatGPT and we're like, okay, well, that must be the solution. Okay, it's not. AI helps supplement you. It doesn't replace you. It doesn't replace another human being. It might make you can write an email quicker. All right, we can have ChatGPT write me an email fast. There we go. I was faster on the email. So, okay, good job. Well done. But that still doesn't change or solve the problem. And this is a cold, hard look you have to take at yourself, right? It's why I am a part of masterminds, Shane. It's why you are a part. It's why
Dude.
I have a coach right now. And I've been in the coaching space for a long time, and I have a coach,
Well,
right, Shane? It's why
yeah,
you do. It's what in more than one realm,
yeah.
right? There's
Oh, yeah.
coaches in different elements.
I got multiple coaches because what I learned is honestly they just accelerate your learning. Time wise, they accelerate it by a huge amount,
Yeah,
um, and sometimes they even elevate you to different levels you would have never got. Like I mean, I can think of probably 4 or 5 conversations I had in masterminds that fundamentally changed my business in a massive way.
yeah,
You know, right? Multiple times, and one of them was just I showed up and some dudes were there and I was king of my little pond, right? I mean, I was making what $2-3 million a year in revenue, and profits were $500,000, and I was like, I'm balling, right? And then I go to this event, and there's other dudes who they're hitting $10 million in revenue, and I'm
yeah.
like, well, dude, you're no smarter than me, right? As a matter of fact, I know for a fact you're dumber than I am, right? And I'm like, shit, I've been playing small ball. I got to level up. I go to another event and they're talking about something they're doing and they're getting twice the results I am. I'm like, well, crap, I've been coasting. Let me, change this. All because I went to an event, met somebody, they challenged my story, destroyed it, and that wasn't even what I was at the event for. That was one of
Yeah.
those conversations in the hall, which just destroys it. And you're like, crap, this was the whole point of me coming here. I could go back to my
Yeah.
room, fly back tomorrow, and it was well worth being here.
Oh yeah, I've done plenty of situations where it's like a 3 day event or whatever, and there was one in particular. I got there in the first 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes rocked my world, and there was one thing that was said, and I'm like, but I kind of felt obligated to stay. I don't know why I did, but I probably, just like you said, I could have easily left.
I was gonna say
But it
I
was
left. I
one
left going through
statement.
the day. I went halfway through a day. I got it, and I said I need to go work on this. I don't care what they're talking about the rest of the day. This is what I need. Now I did stay there and come back the next day, but I just
Mhm.
missed all the speakers the next half of the hour, half the day. I was just
Yeah.
like, no point. Let me go work on this.
Yeah, and the thing that's wild is if you're not putting yourself in those environments, well, good luck. And I know there's a story that people have that I can't afford it. That right, I can't see the return on it, or I can't see the benefit that's coming off of that. Which I had that same story, so I understand, I get it, and it's one of those things that you can't not afford to, right? You can't if you actually want to grow. Now, if you're okay being where you're at and you're okay settling in, number one, you're not going to listen to anything you and I have to say, Shane, because that this would not be relative at all to them. So we know if you're even listening and you're on the shows and you're listening to audio or on YouTube, wherever you're at, we know that you actually are looking to grow. And so there has to become this from just like you can't become an attorney if you don't invest in law school. Now we have to realize, okay, cool, you have the skill of an attorney. Good job. Congratulations. So do like 100,000s of other people. But
Right.
now we have to figure out how do you now combine that with the skill of business? Because if you don't combine it with the skill of business, and that is just as much to learn as it did for you to learn how to become an attorney on the business side. So it's ludicrous to think that, well, I can learn a skill set about how to run a business by just sitting here and I'll watch a YouTube video occasionally. This thing, if it were so easy, if that's all it took, right, to just watch a few YouTube videos and go out there and do some simple things, and you would just figure it out, like it would just happen. If that were the case, why are there so many entrepreneurs who are broke? Why are there so many businesses that fail? Why is that? It couldn't be that they're hard. It couldn't be that, hey, you actually have to do things in a sequence and there's a way to do it the right way. And there's a way to learn those skill sets on how to do it effectively while creating safety nets. That couldn't be it. There's
All right.
just no way that could be right.
Yeah, it also couldn't be the fact that most people need somebody to help drive their execution,
Yeah.
right? And we give tons of ideas, tons of strategy, but I mean, there's also execution, which I mean, when you map out your monthly stuff, there's usually four big things you want to accomplish that month. Sometimes four little things, but
Yeah.
it's that execution driving forward relentlessly towards your goals, because you can get inundated with knowledge and information that can get too complex,
Yeah.
and if you don't, and this is something we talk about breaking it down. What's the next action step? What do we want to accomplish in the next 30 days? So we're continually driving forward towards what our goals are,
Yeah.
which is what we want all of our listeners. You get that monthly goal and you drive through it. So you're not trying to do it all on day 28, 29, 30 of the month. You're
Mm-hmm.
driving through consistently week after week after week, getting closer and closer and closer to your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's a lot to it, right? There's obviously a lot. There's a place to start though. We have put together a cool training that we're giving away for free over on our website. You can get access to it. All you got to do is go over there. And it's legaledgecoaching.com/go. That link will be here in the description as well, whether you're listening to this on audio or you're watching us here on YouTube. Either way, but we've got a foundational training that gets this started because no matter what you do, you got to build off of a foundation of what it is that we're talking about. I don't care if you need more leads coming in, you need better closers, better sales. You've got issues with your operations on client flow and getting them through. Maybe your customer service, right? Everybody kind of has their own unique problem that we will solve throughout the process, but it all begins in that foundation. Also, get you information on the Legal Edge Summit that we do, where we get attorneys just like you in a room where you can have this mastermind we're talking about, where you can these ideas that come to you that literally change everything for your business. That's where those things happen, right? Getting you clear about where you're going. There's a lot of cool information on there. All of it's free inside of it. We just want to give it to you to get you started and be able to get you moving forward. So again, head over to legaledgecoaching.com to get access to that. And then if you got value from today's show, do us a huge favor, share the show with somebody who would get value from what it is we talk about. I know Shane and I kind of just this is a heart project for us. We're just kind of pouring our hearts into this because we know what we went through, and
Yeah.
it sucked. All right, let me just put it that way. I learned everything the hard way until I realized I didn't need to, and then everything just accelerated. right? I mean, there's a reason I live in Hawaii, right? I understand that not everybody can do that. This is not a normal thing that we were able to do. 2 years ago, it was on a whim. I was like, hey, let's go do this thing. It's been magical. It's a reason why I can just make a decision to move back, right? If you don't build your life around your ability to make the decisions you need to make, it's good luck. Good luck. Because I've watched people struggle and struggle and struggle, and it doesn't have to be that way. The overwhelm that you're feeling is not real. It's not real, but you got to get a foundation set. So we want to give you that training. So head over to legaledgecoaching.com/go for that. And any final thoughts, Shane?
Just we don't have to do everything the hard way, but I mean, there's definitely a path and experience and building the practice you want. I mean, there's definitely a way, and I think that's the key is, you can have the practice you want, you can have the life you want. It just takes work and effort driving in that direction.
Oh, simple as that. So appreciate you guys listening today. We are out of here. Have a fantastic rest of your day.